Hello, bridge builders! I'm here with some exciting news. The first volume of interviews is now available on Amazon.com. The link can be found at eatlunchandboardgame.com. I promise that all proceeds from sales of this book will go right back into this podcast and channel. Whether that is new and better audio equipment for the podcast, or video equipment for the YouTube channel, or even more games to review, the money will not be wasted. Click over to Amazon and get your copy of Eat Lunch and Board Game, the first course today. And thank you for supporting the show. In this episode, Chelsea Schwartz joins me. She has an incredible job title of Hobby Marketing and Influencer Specialist at the Op. She and I have a lot of fun chatting about IP games. The good ones, some bad ones. We also discuss her love of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and my fondness for Dream Phone. Stay through the end of the episode for the final payoff on that tangent. Thanks for listening. All right, welcome back to Lunch and Board Game. I'm your host, Adam Collins, and with me today is Chelsea Schwartz. She's the Hobby Marketing and Influencer Specialist for the Op. Chelsea, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Well, I'm not doing too bad. As I told you just before we started recording, I'm recording this the night before a supposed snowstorm is going to dump 5 to 10 inches of snow on us. So out there on the West Coast, you don't usually have that problem.
Definitely not. Although I would love a white Christmas like once in my life. That'd be fun.
So you born and raised out there?
Actually born and raised in Texas. I grew up in Houston, lived in Austin for a while. Did spend a year in Chicago for college, and lake effect nobody warned me about, and I quickly came to Los Angeles.
Oh, yes. I graduated graduated college, and then I moved to Chicago. I am well aware of the lake effect snow, and yeah, that is some pretty serious snow action out of nowhere.
For sure.
I now moved to St. Louis, so not quite the river effect doesn't really work for snow, so not too bad there. So, working with the Op, you are the Hobby Marketing and Influencer Specialist. What does that mean?
Well, the Op breaks our categories of games into three sections or hubs or whatever you'd like to clarify them as. So we have party games, we have our co-brand games, and we have our hobby games. And our hobby games are the ones that are a little bit more strategic. So I work on the marketing side for our hobby games, but then I also handle all of the influencer relations for all three of our hubs, which is content creators. So Instagrammers and TikTokers and all of that stuff. So I'm the one out there meeting people that have some sort of quote unquote influence that might be in the pop culture space or like games or whatever that is, and trying to find a good pairing to like help their audiences discover our games.
So that's how we met. I write reviews for a website, and the review request came over for the Avatar: The Last Airbender Fire Nation Rising game. And my kids and I love the Avatar series, and I jumped at the opportunity to play this game. And then that's how that's how you and I met. And I'm like, that's quite a title. I feel like we should talk.
Well, I'm glad that we are.
Yeah. So that's an interesting job. You just have to reach out to people and meet people and get them to review your games and give their opinions and do their influencing.
Well, I mean, the media side, which is more review based, I also do handle at the Op too. But influencer and content creation is a whole new ballgame. And I've actually worked in this space for much of the last 10 years for different brands like Thomas Kincaid Studios, and have a wide network of creators that I know and love. And I'm constantly connected to my socials looking for new ones because, you know, there's a new creator born every minute, and everyone has a unique an interesting approach to the content that they create, and that's the fun of it.
Sure, and not only that, but you've also got to keep up with the socials that keep popping up.
Absolutely. Although for most of those, I just kind of monitor until they get to a place where it actually seems like a beast. Otherwise you're driving yourself crazy with 17 platforms a day.
I can imagine. Yeah, oof, that remember Vine? Is that still around?
Yeah, no, definitely not anymore.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm still not really good with Instagram or Twitter, as my followers will tell you. If it's not Facebook, I'm old, so I guess I need to learn those better. But
I will say
yeah,
that Twitter is my favorite platform, and it has been since it came out. Just 140 characters, which now it's doubled that, but it was just text and random thoughts, and I really loved it, especially in the beginning days. And it's still my favorite these days, but hardly anyone's using it anymore, which makes me sad.
well, I never learned it, so maybe I'll just wait for the next one. Whatever. What's on the? Any idea what's the next one? The next
I
horizon?
think we're stuck with Instagram and TikTok for a while.
Uh,
That's not a negative.
uh, I guess I'll learn them. I mean, I'm learning Instagram. Instagram really does work pretty well for the board game industry, though. You can put out a good picture, and you can put out some good links and notations, I guess. But it does work out pretty well for the board game industry. I just got to learn it better.
Instagram is a great community building resource because you can definitely
Yeah.
grow a set of followers, get to know them, send messages, like interact in different ways. There's all sorts of different types of content you can post. TikTok is more of just like, here's something, watch it. So when you're bored, it's like an entertainment channel, almost like scrolling Netflix. I was like, it's not so much that you build a community there because you can't really message the creators you're following unless they follow you back. And if your video goes viral, there's so many troll comments that it's hard to even navigate. Most people just don't even read them.
There's troll comments everywhere. I made a comment on somebody's article on Facebook, and people attacking me, and I'm like, man, all I said was I didn't think this article was very well researched. I
I will
mean,
definitely say that TikTok and Facebook have the worst trolls I've ever seen. I don't see much of it on Instagram though, which makes me
uh,
happy.
well, maybe I should jump over to Instagram so I see less hate. I guess I don't know.
I
So,
definitely think their AI is more catered to just your followers. So once you build a following, it's just kind of like that community that you're getting over and over.
oh, that's good to know. That's good to know. I keep seeing all kinds of books on Instagram for business, and I'm like, man, I should maybe read that. I don't know. So, how did you get into gaming?
Oh, that's a wonderful question. I have been playing board games my entire life. I
As one
also was
should.
a classic, Nintendo and Super Nintendo girl growing up. I didn't really stick with the video game consoles past Super Nintendo. That's when they got too fancy for me. Something about the graphics these days makes me a little nauseated. But board games are where it's at. And I've continued to love board games. And several years ago, I was dating someone out in Los Angeles who was a Kickstarter collector, is what I will call him. Um, and I didn't even know about this phenomenon. And, this was like 7 years ago. And he just had hundreds of board games that were all still shrink wrapped that he had never played because he never had anyone that wanted to play them. And I was like, I'll play them. And half of these games required 3 or more players, and we were only 2 people. So I ended up creating board game events in Los Angeles and throughout Southern California just to make friends to play board games with.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
That is got to be the best reason to create board game groups and events is just so you so you can play games that you couldn't play otherwise.
Yep. And from there, it became a much larger than life thing than just like, oh, now I have friends to play games with. We were producing a weekly event at Scum and Villainy Cantina out here that we would theme every week to be, Game of Thrones night or Pirates night or whatever. And all the games would relate to whatever the theme is. And people would come in cosplay and everyone would just play pirate related board games that night or whatever. And there'd be like 300 people in this bar. It was amazing.
That is amazing. Awesome. More power to you. Congratulations on doing that. That is incredible. What a great idea. What a great way to get to meet fellow board gamers too. And like you said, it takes a life of its own. You have no idea what's going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh man, that is. I start a board game group at every company I go to work at, and that's what spawned the idea for this podcast. And so, hearing that you needed people to play board games, so let's make board game events and get them out there. That's awesome. That is, you should write a
Thank you
book
so
on
much.
that.
Yeah, right. I don't know if we need a book on it. We pretty much just told the story right here. Everyone just needs to come and listen to the podcast.
There you go. Problem solved.
Mm-hmm.
So, if I made the trip out there to California, what is your current favorite game? What is the game currently sitting on your table that you're playing?
I mean, the one literally on my table right now is Marvel Dice Throne, which is one of our latest Marvel titles here at the Op. My personal favorite game that is always my go-to whenever somebody wants to play a game is Space Base from John D. Clare.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
I love.
I
Yeah,
love
yeah.
I
That
love the
one's
simultaneous play of that one. It's just like having something to do on every player's turn, but the game actually being quite meaty at the same time. I'm like, oh yes, thank you.
yes. It. I learned that game a couple years ago, and I'm a big player of Machi Koro, so that space base is kind of like Machi Koro,
But better.
but whoa, that's like shots fired. But different. It is a little bit. It is a little bit better. It is a little bit meatier. Meteor or meteor. I don't know. It is. It is, and it is a great game. I really enjoy that one. So I'm glad to hear it getting some love. That's a good game. But
Awesome.
yeah, space base. So you said I'm like, oh yeah, it's like Machikoro but up a level.
Absolutely. I agree with that sentiment.
So let's get this out of the way. How do you pronounce Klaus Teuber's game, The Settlers of?
Catan.
Ouch, Catan. Oof. I love how that's so divided. Like, it's got to be darn near 50-50. I'm trying to get all the data together on that, going back to my old episodes. But it's interesting. Where did you learn the game? Out there in California?
Yep.
Yeah, I wonder if it's regional.
It's really funny because whenever somebody asks me how you say it, my immediate response is to say Catan. But that's not ever how I've said it for some reason. But like my mind likes to play a trick on me and say something else altogether. Like, I don't know.
That's awesome. My mind just tells me to say it the way I never say it, only when asked to say it.
Yeah. Really random. Like I literally have to re-say it in my head after somebody says it just to be like, no, the other one. Yeah. Okay.
that's that's great. Oh, that's a good one. I've never heard never heard that one before. So working at the op, do you guys play a lot of games at lunch, or is that just kind of like the time to not play games because you're doing that all day long?
You know, something I really love about working for the op is that on Wednesdays, we have something called Workshop Wednesday, which basically means that Wednesdays from lunch until closing, we play board games. And I
Excellent.
love it.
Excellent. Is it limited to just games that are made by the op, or can you bring in outside?
No, a lot
Okay,
of it's like research of like, new games that have just come out or ones that are trending. Sometimes it's us testing new games that we're looking to bring to the market, or maybe a developer brought to us, and or I should say a designer, not a developer, but it's really just anything and everything. It's great.
that sounds like a great Wednesday.
Yeah, it definitely perks you up in the middle of the week.
I can't imagine why. My goodness. Nothing like 4 or 5 hours of straight gaming time. That would be amazing. I think if I did that at my office, I'd be fired after like the second week I did it. They'd be like, sorry, man. Once we were like, what's going on? We kind of let it slide, but second time, nobody, you're done.
I guess that's a benefit of actually working for a game company.
Yeah, I work for a construction company, not quite the same.
Yeah, not quite the same at all.
So you mentioned earlier your Kickstarter collector friend. So are you on Kickstarter now? Do you back games and all that?
Since then, I have backed some games, and I also designed my own game that launched on Kickstarter last year and was funded in a few hours and is about to be fulfilled in the next week or so through the publisher. And so a
Ooh,
little of all the above now.
what game was that?
Bananya, the card game. It's from Japanime Games. It's based on one of my favorite animes, and it's a fun little party game.
Well, we'll have to put a link to that to the BGG page in the show notes. I'm assuming
Sounds
it's got a
good.
BGG page, right?
It does. It definitely does.
My son and I always say, if it doesn't have a BGG page, is it actually a board game?
The day that that page was created, and then my username on BGG got that little designer sticker that they put under
Ooh.
people's names, I was like, I've made it.
I don't know if mine has that designer name or not, or the designer badge. I'll have to go check my profile, see if it does. Now you got
It's
me
an
curious.
I think it's an easy request to
Oh,
if
sure.
it's missing. So
Excuse me, do you not know who I am? I need that badge. Oh, we're sorry, Adam. Your one game is not exactly setting the world on fire. Well, that's awesome. We'll definitely have to put that in the show notes and drive people to that game. That's amazing. Congratulations.
thank you. I'm so excited for the world to play it. I actually just got back from 3 weeks in New Zealand, and I brought a copy with me on the cruise that I did. It was a cruise to Middle Earth. I did all the Lord of the Rings things.
So, okay.
And so then we'll go back. I can tell you want to unpack that, but so I'm playing the game on the ship. We're like at port somewhere in New Zealand, and I just went, "Hey, this is the first time my game has been played in New Zealand." Like, it's just like that's a cool feeling.
Oh, so you emailed me that we had to wait because you were traveling to Middle Earth in an
Yep.
email, and I just assumed you were just being nerdy. You actually traveled to quote unquote Middle Earth.
I legitimately went to Middle Earth. Yep. Something I've been wanting to do for 20 years, and I finally just said, you know what? It's now or never, and I went.
Has it been 20 years?
It has been 20 years. We are currently entering the 20th anniversary of Return of the King this December.
Man, I'm old, right?
Yeah.
Good grief! I saw those in theaters. I think I was
So did
actually
I.
working at a movie theater when this I guess it was just the second one. I wasn't working in the theater when the first and third came out, but
I was in college when the films came out, and I was on a committee. The Music and Entertainment Committee is what it called for our student union. And so we put on all the films on Thursday nights, and we actually showed Fellowship, and then the next year, Two Towers, and then Return of the King. And yeah.
yeah. They were when I was in college as well, so that's funny. Where'd you go to college?
I went to UT Austin for a little while, then transferred to Columbia College Chicago.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. And
Nice.
if you really want to just book in this nerdiness, at the University of Texas, Austin, I actually took a class called Linguistics of Middle Earth.
Oh boy. I didn't know that was a thing.
Yep, sure
That's
is.
like
You can learn Black speech, Intish, Dwarfish, Orcish, Elvish, Old Elvish, and Modern Elvish. It's all there.
I did have the Klingon dictionary for a while, but I think I got lost on the move.
Nice.
Um, that's incredible. Oh man. So back to lunchtime board gaming. What would be your 60-minute, your 1 hour game?
I've never picked up a board game and paid attention to how long it takes me to play it. I just play games I feel like playing.
That's fair. That's fair. I
Like it's basically for me it's do I feel like thinking really hard right now? Do I just want something light? You know? We found this great little like board game cafe. It's like an eatery and bar that actually has their own escape rooms too in Auckland, New Zealand.
Oh,
And me and my friend were so excited. It'd been like 2 weeks without playing board games practically on this cruise. And we were like, yes, look, they have a big library and it was decent. They even had stuff like Twilight Imperium, like massive games.
yeah.
And I was like, okay, how intense do we want to go today? And we started with like Flux. Like just, wet the palate with something like Flux, and we built from there.
Yeah, I can see that. But that's 2 weeks out of board game. I don't know if I could do it. Did you leave
I,
your game there? Your copy
uh,
of your game?
I
Hey, just
gave my game to an employee on the cruise ship so that him and his friends could play the game even after we were gone. Just something for the employees to do.
No, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, I was at a board game convention and they had a board game library that did not have my game, and I'm like, here's a copy of my game for your library.
Totally.
Yeah, it's a good, it's, it's good, it's cheap, it's, here's a copy of my, as long as my game's not like $150, which, let's be honest, I should not be designing games that are $150. That's not my that's not the games I play. Yeah, so a lot of times when I get the review requests, I look at the gameplay time, and I don't remember what the Avatar one was, but I want to say it was like 60 to 90 minutes, and I'm like, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It's Avatar. I'll
Yeah,
play it.
that's how I feel, especially when it comes to licensed games. If I'm in for that fandom, I'm gonna play it. It does not matter what it is.
Yeah, so what's your favorite IP game? I know that's not a question I never normally ask people, but
That's okay.
now you've got me intrigued. What's your favorite IP game?
Well, not to toot the op's own horn, but it actually is Hogwarts Battle.
Yeah, I hear a lot of good things about that one. I have not played it. I have
Do
heard a
you
lot
like
of good
deck
things.
builders?
Yes, I like deck builders.
You will like Hogwarts Battle. It is great.
Have you played Godfather Corleone's Empire?
I have not, but I'm not a big Godfather fan.
Well, that's a double. I'm sorry.
You're like, and in the podcast now.
And sorry, gotta go. No, I'm a huge fan of the films, and one of my old other guests a while back, she mentioned it, and I'm like, oh, okay. And then I found it for stupid cheap on eBay, and man, there's something about that gameplay. It is incredible, and the gaming group, the guys I usually play with, they're obsessed with it. They're like, hey, can you bring that Godfather game? I'm like, yeah, I finally lost, so now I'm not nearly as inclined to bring it. I was usually
That's
my go.
good to know.
It was like my go-to. Like, I can win this game, but then I got beat. And I'm like, man. But I'll tell you, and not to sound like a sycophant, but I did really like the Avatar game. I think that the way they encompassed
Are we
the
talking
show,
about Fire Nation Rising?
yeah, Fire Nation Rising, the way they encompassed the whole, like, it basically, you're playing the entire show.
Yep.
And I was like, man, this is so good. And I was very impressed with it. My son, he absolutely loved it. I do wish, though, that they would have come with minis for the characters instead of the discs.
I mean, you did get a giant sculpt, though, in the box.
You do. Fire Lord Ozai menacingly standing in the center of your board, and you're just praying when you flip that next card that he's not going to face you, because it's not good if he does. But
Indeed. Yeah, our Rising series, especially if you're a fan of the property, like we did a SpongeBob one, there was a Batman one. Thanos Rising is my personal favorite, but there was even a Death Eaters Rising for Harry Potter. So if any of those IPs speak to you, it's a great game.
I'll have to look into the Batman one for sure. But yeah, I was just floored by how well it used the IP, and it wasn't just like, here's a game, oh, let's throw Avatar on it. It was very well thought out, very well crafted to, like I said, just encompass the entire series of Avatar: The Last Airbender. It was so fun.
It actually just really like warms my heart to hear you say that. And whenever anybody speaks this to us, because I feel like a lot of people look at the op and just go, don't you guys just make versions of Monopoly? Or they just think, oh yeah, I've played Telestrations, and they just think of the party games. But we actually have some really incredible hobby products that I feel like we get dismissed in the gamer community often for.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate. But you get that with a lot of different manufacturer publishers. They kind of get a niche and they get known for something, and that's kind of like it. Like, you try to tell somebody, hey, have you seen this new game by Hasbro? You're immediately going to write it off, But they could have had a good shot in there,
Absolutely. I mean, even just what we were just talking about, where I was like, I've never cared for The Godfather, so why would I pick up that game? And then I immediately thought about one of my favorite deck builders of all time and how nobody wants to play the game with me because of the artwork on it. So, it's don't judge a book by its cover.
Oh man, sometimes people get bent out of shape over the weirdest stuff. Like so, so bad IP.
Mm,
What? What is one of? You don't have to like say all of them because there's a bunch of bad IP games out there. But what is a bad IP game that just gets stuck in your craw when you think about it?
I'm literally just trying to come up with one, and I think I don't really think I have any that are like, oh my god, I can't do it. But there are definitely some that there's a publisher in particular that churns out a lot of IP games that I like on a surface level, but I wish they were a little bit more something else, like slightly more strategic or slightly more meaty or just had one additional thought process behind it or something. But I still play them and love them. And that same company even makes tons of games that I love out of it that are just like dexterity games and stuff. Um,
Isn't that weird though? How like how I don't know who you're talking about, but I know the kind of game you're talking about where it's like it's right there. It wouldn't have taken you any more money. Just that extra step to make the game that extra bit of crunchiness to it would have made this game incredibly better. And they just like, no, we went far enough. Time to move on.
yep. I don't even wanna call them out because I don't wanna, like, speak negatively about them at all, but, like, yeah.
No,
Mhm.
I felt that way um on the last. I mean, I did a review on it and already called them out on it, but the Godfather Last Family Standing, it was like a solid 6, but it could have been an 8 had they just embraced it a little bit more. And also, they've spent all the money to get the Godfather IP and then just use Marlon Brando. That was it. I'm like, so come on, you're gonna pay the
It's
money for
really
it.
rough when you're dealing with licenses, though, like, the other actors might not want to give their likeness to a game, like, there's a lot of hoops and things you gotta jump through to get those licenses.
So when you okay, so that's a good to know. So like if they get the Godfather IP, they have to pay for each individual character. Like they don't just get the IP to the game or to
I will
the
say
Godfather.
that when it comes to, like, older TV shows and films, because back in those days, people did not create merchandise like they do now for films, that
Sure.
a lot of those actors retain their rights. So they have to go back to every individual person or whoever runs their estate to get approvals.
Interesting. I thought it would just all be kind of lump summed under like the Godfather and you just get everything associated with the movie or movies
I
or
mean, there's
whatever.
definitely some of those that I'm sure they've renegotiated at some point, and, like, there are different terms. It's gonna be different for every
Hmm.
single film, but I definitely know, I haven't I'm a former actor here in Los Angeles, and I have a lot of, acting friends from the '70s that control all of their own rights for every film they were in, so it's very interesting.
That is interesting for sure. Wow. Well, now I would say I feel bad, but I don't. I should, but I don't because but that is interesting. That is interesting. Wow. So what about a anyway, we'll get back on the track here. What about a hidden gem game? A game that you don't feel gets enough attention?
Hmm. Alright. I'm gonna throw it back to the op again. So there's this game that we just came out with in the last year called Disney Sorcerer's Arena Epic Alliances. We've already put out 2 expansions for it, and it's a battle skirmish game, and it's really cool because it's one of the first times ever that you can take characters from different factions of Disney, Pixar, live action, whatnot, have them in one game and make your own team to have these characters that should not be in these worlds together playing together. And as a Disney nerd myself, I think that's really cool, and I feel like a lot of people don't realize this game is out there.
I haven't played it. Obviously, it's a good call. I haven't played it. I think the idea is cool though, being able to pull all the different like you said factions or types of Disney movies and
Yep.
battle skirmish. So
Like,
you could have a
you
little
can
part of
have
the game.
Sully with Sorcerer's Apprentice Mickey, and Aladdin together, or Davy Jones from Pirates of the Caribbean with Moana.
I don't know if that'd be a good combo for them.
It just depends on what your goal is as your team. I mean, especially Davy Jones and Moana are both oceanic characters, so they might have some synergy.
Oh, there you go. That'd be an interesting crossover film, wouldn't it?
Yeah, the day that Disney starts making those crossovers, I will be going on vacation to just marathon all that. I was like, let's see what kind of multiverse we're getting into. Let's go.
I think they might have taken the multiverse a little too far at that point. That'd be some craziness. So, in a game that offers colors, do you have a specific go-to color?
Oh, absolutely. And this is like, I will fight you to the death.
Oh, ouch!
Green. I have to have green.
Wow. Well, you could play with me. I don't care about green,
Oh,
but
great. Wonderful.
any specific reason, or just that's your
I mean,
that's it?
green is my favorite color, but also a lot of my favorite characters and fandoms and things like that all relate to green. Like, I love hobbits in the Shire. There's a lot of green there. I'm a Slytherin. Slytherin's the house color is green. Loki is my favorite Marvel character, and it's also a green. Like, yeah, green in me, it runs deep.
It runs deep. Seems
Mm-hmm.
that way. No, that's interesting though. That you gravitate towards green and everything green. So the Ninja Turtles, you just like them because
Oh
they're
yeah.
green.
Although my favorite Ninja Turtle was Michelangelo, whose color was orange, but he is
Well,
green by nature. So
yeah, yeah. There was a green Ninja Turtle. I was always the Raphael guy. Just
he was
because.
too angsty for me.
That's probably why I liked him. To be honest. Oh man, that's hilarious.
Although as I get older, I think I feel more and more like Raphael these days.
Yeah, I definitely never got the Donatello. Like, I got to learn all the computer stuff, man. Oh, that's not me. But wouldn't mind being Leonardo, kind of like the leader guy. It wouldn't be bad.
I just like the laid back, carefree nature of Michelangelo. Like, oh yeah, we got a job to do. Okay, I'll do it. Now I'm not working, and I'm just gonna kick back with a pizza. I'm like, yeah, all right.
Oh, never pay
No
full price for
anchovies.
late pizza.
Yeah, exactly. Never pay full price for late pizza. Time's up. $3 off.
Oh man, what a great film.
That original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie with Casey Jones is still a go-to staple for me.
Oh yeah, we had it. So prior to the pandemic, we had a movie theater that would show midnight movies. One of them was the Ninja Turtles, and so I'm like, heck yeah! And so my buddy and I went down there at midnight to watch the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle film at midnight, and it was like, this is great.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, such a great film. Oh my gosh. And it holds up pretty darn well
Yes, it
considering.
does.
Oh man. Yeah, one of my
Not so
favorites.
much the second and third ones with the Vanilla Ice and Ninja Rap stuff, but
Whoa. I mean, what year did that come out? I mean, that hit right in my childhood, man. It
oh, that
didn't
was totally my childhood.
Yeah, it didn't age well, but man, fond memories of Vanilla Ice doing ninja rap with the Ninja Turtles.
Go Ninja, go.
Oh man, and then you had Super Shredder and oh goodness, Toka and Razor, because apparently Rocksteady and Bebop were too complicated back in that day.
Yeah.
We'll wait and do those in another round, which are making it even worse. Now they're rebooting it again on TV. I don't know. That's an IP I don't even want to touch. It's been rolled around and beat up way too many times. There's a lot of board games surrounding the Ninja Turtles too.
Yes, there are.
I have the old one from when we were kids.
Nice.
Oh, what was it? I can't remember what it was called. Like, you had like the little dice flipper in the middle, and
I do not even remember there being a Ninja Turtles game from when I was a kid. I mean,
when we were kids. Come on.
yes. But my childhood as a female, the board games they gave me were like Dream Date and
Man, I rocked Dream Phone, by the way. The deductive
Dream Phone was
reasoning.
amazing. Yeah.
The deductive reasoning on that game. I don't care who likes me. I'll find you. I can use deductive reasoning real quick. I was really good at that game.
Oh man. There was one game that my dad had that my brother and I kind of inherited, the Mad Magazine game, which was rad.
Oh man, I'm sure that was politically correct. Oh, can't say I've ever played that one. Oh man, do you have like Pretty Princess and
I didn't have that one. I had Cat's Eye, which is a game that no one seems to remember but me, and I that was one of my favorites.
I have no idea what that is.
You had like a big marble bowl in the middle, kind of like I think Potion Explosion honestly stole from Cat's Eye.
Potion Explosion stole from Cat's Eye.
So everybody has like a board in front of them of like a cat. You're trying to get like your cat's color marbles and fill in all the holes first, and then you also need one black eye. And so like on your turn, you like push and like one marble comes out. And it's a very simple game. Potion Explosion is definitely much more strategic. I was like, but the satisfaction of having the marbles again, like it brought back a flood of memories from when I was a kid.
Oh man, isn't it amazing what can trigger memories?
Absolutely.
Cat's Eye, yeah, never heard of it.
One day I will meet somebody that knows what Cat's Eye is, and I will marry that person. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, you heard it here first, folks. Eat Lunch and Board Game, the dating service. That just took a weird turn. But yeah, I mean, we had all kinds of those old. Oh my gosh, like Mall Madness was another one that was. That one was. My neighbor had it. We didn't have
I
that
also
one.
really liked Mousetrap for like that kind of like Rudy Goldberg like invention making stuff. I was like, that's fun.
Yeah, nobody ever played it by the rules. You just put the whole thing together and made it work.
Yeah.
You didn't go around and collect the pieces and the cheese and try to catch each other. You just put it all together and try to make the net drop, you know?
Yep.
That's how that game worked. Same guy did Grape Escape. Did you ever play the Grape Escape?
Yes.
So my kids are obsessed with that. My parents still have it, so we leave it at their house, and so we go over there. Like my mom is constantly buying Play-Doh so that it doesn't, we don't have dried out Play-Doh so that the kids can play Grape Escape. Oh man, like a game of pure skill of rolling a die and following the directions. No luck at all. Oh man, those old Play-Doh games were something else, weren't they?
Yes, absolutely.
Anything else you want to talk about?
I mean, I could talk about games and fandom culture all day long, but
Well,
I
yeah.
guess I should mention since we're here to talk about me and my role at the op that we've got a really fun thing happening this year, especially around the United States. If you guys listening are nearby, the Ops Games Road to Gen Con is our tournament series that kicked off last week in Portland and Seattle with our first two tour stops. And this weekend, we'll be in Anaheim and we'll be somewhere else throughout the course of this year leading up to the World Championship at Gen Con. And so if you participate in any of our tournaments leading up to it, you're going to be playing Disney's Sorcerer's Arena Epic Alliances. If you win a regional tournament position, you will be entered to win a full fare basically to Gen Con. You get airfare, you get a badge, you get a hotel, and you get to participate in the World Championship. So one lucky winner out of all the regionals will get all those expenses paid by the op. Everyone else that wins is guaranteed a seat also at the World Championship. They just have to get themselves to Gen Con. And then once you're at the World Championship, you have the chance to win up to $10,000 in prizes.
Just to play a board game.
Just to play a board game. And
That's
a good board
awesome.
game.
Your hidden gem, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. I will see if you guys float through the St. Louis area.
Actually, we are doing something in Missouri. Hold on. Yeah, we're doing St. Louis specifically.
Yeah, you doing are you doing it at like cafes?
Miniature Market.
Oh, okay, miniature market. Yeah, that
We'll
up
be
there
at
in
Miniature
Manchester.
Market on March 18th.
Oh, coming up actually.
Yeah.
And that's out on the Manchester location, I'd imagine.
That much I do not know, but we can definitely look into it and you can put it in the show notes.
Well, I guarantee you, I know the event coordinator at Miniature Market because we brought a proto spiel to St. Louis this year. So
nice.
we'll have the first, I hate saying the first annual, it just sounds like this is going to be such a success. We're going to do a second one. the inaugural Protospiel St. Louis in February, almost pretty much a month before this one. So that'll be interesting. March 18th at the Miniature Market. I'll go out and see what it's all about.
Yeah, sign up for the tournament. Maybe you'll win.
And we'll make Moana with who was it?
Davy
Jones. Yeah, wow. Epic battle or epic team right there.
Personally, I'd probably go for like a Gaston, Ariel, and somebody else combination. You know, get your big brute up front that can do some damage and a healer. I always have to have a healer on my team.
Not the Leroy Jenkins run in and just spray and pray.
Not so much.
That's how I play Stratego. Just run at the other line of defense. Just go for it.
Hey, Red Rover, it works.
And hey, if the bombs are up front, I'm screwed. If not, you're screwed. So, haha. Yeah. Well, Chelsea, I want to thank you for being on my show today. If anybody want to reach out to you, how can they do that?
The best places to reach me personally is follow me on Instagram at Sprinkled by Magic. It is my nerd and all things pop culture Instagram account that I run with my very good friend Tiffany, and I'm always up in those DMs or leave a comment on anything we post, and I will see it and get back to you. Otherwise, just follow the Op Games. You can also just try to, if you're media, if you're an influencer, if you want to work with the Op in any context, all of our socials are open. It's the Op Games, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all the places you can go, Twitter. We've got a great social team. If you specifically want to talk to me, mention that. They will route it to me. Like, there's ways to reach me. I'm not hidden.
It's not hard to find.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I found you. It can't be that hard. That's all I can say. I don't have those sleuthing skills that other people have.
Hey, you just were raving about your dream phone sleuthing skills.
Hey, that was a different type of sleuthing skills, okay?
All right.
And I really wanted to know if Danny liked me. I don't even remember if Danny was a character. Wouldn't that be awesome if it was?
I'm sure it was. I'm sure.
I bet my sister still has her copy of that. I'll have to reach out to my sister. I wonder if
my dad still has it at home. I'd be very curious.
We're going to hang up and you're going to be like, hey, Dad.
Mm-hmm.
And as usual, though, if you want to reach out to me, eatlunchandboardgame.com, eatlunchandboardgame@gmail.com for an email. And remember, board games build bridges.
Oh, and there is a Dan, and I just Googled it. Not a Danny, but there's a Dan.
Oh, well, see, and Dan was looking out. Dan was trying to find me.
There you go. All right, thanks so much for having me.
When you're gaming, why not be comfy? Go over to supportplayer.org. Click on the cards, pieces, and dice to get some merch. These t-shirts are some of the most comfortable I have ever worn. That's supportplayer.org, and there's a link on eatlunchandboardgame.com.